Their German shepherd barked non-stop at the backyard fence, refusing to eat, sleep, or come inside. At first, they thought it was nothing, until they checked the security camera. What they saw left them frozen with fear, and what they later dug up would shock the entire neighborhood. Before we start, make sure to hit like, share, and subscribe. And really, I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country name in the comments. I love seeing how far our stories travel. It was an ordinary Saturday afternoon, the kind where time seemed to move slower. The kids played in the living room, sunlight spilled across the kitchen floor, and laughter echoed faintly through the house. Out in the backyard, their loyal German shepherd, Max, stretched lazily on the grass. Everything felt perfectly normal, until Max suddenly leapt to his feet. His ears shot up, and his body stiffened like a statue. Without warning, he bolted toward the far end of the yard, barking furiously. The family glanced out the window, puzzled. To them, the backyard looked empty, but Max knew otherwise. At first, they thought Max was barking at a squirrel or maybe a stray cat, but when they called him back, he didn't move. Instead, he lowered his head, growled deep in his throat, and began scratching furiously at the same patch of ground near the fence. Minutes passed, yet Max refused to leave the spot. His tail stood rigid, his eyes fixed on something invisible to them. Even when his favorite treats were shaken at the back door, he ignored them completely. A first for the food-loving shepherd. That night, they tried to coax him inside, but Max whined, pacing back and forth as if guarding something. He eventually laid down, front paws stretched toward the fence, ears perked, eyes unblinking. It was unsettling. This wasn't the playful dog they knew. Something in the backyard had his full attention, and it wasn't going away. By the third day, Max's strange behavior could no longer be dismissed. Every time the family opened the back door, he would sprint straight to the same spot, barking and digging until his paws were caked with dirt. His fur bristled, and he refused to relax unless someone stayed nearby. At first, the family laughed nervously. Maybe he buried a bone and forgot, the father joked. But the mother wasn't so sure. There was something about Max's intensity that unsettled her. Even the neighbors began to notice. From across the fence, one leaned over and said, "That dog's onto something. You should check it out." But each time they went outside, the yard looked normal, just grass, dirt, and the familiar wooden fence. No tracks, no holes, no sign of intruders. Still, Max wouldn't let it go. By now, his constant barking had become a nightly ritual, echoing through the neighborhood. The children grew uneasy, afraid to play outside. What could possibly be in their backyard that only Max could sense? The once peaceful home was now wrapped in tension, and the family knew they couldn't ignore it much longer. That evening, after yet another round of frantic barking, the father finally sighed and said, "Enough. Let's see what the cameras picked up." The family had installed security cameras months earlier, mostly for peace of mind. Until now, they had never needed to use them. Gathered around the glowing screen, they fast-forwarded through hours of quiet footage, just shadows, swaying trees, and the occasional neighborhood cat slipping by. But then, as the clock ticked past midnight, the atmosphere shifted. On screen, Max appeared, standing rigid in the moonlight, his gaze locked on the corner of the fence. His ears twitched, body tense. Suddenly, he lunged forward, barking into the darkness. The family leaned closer. Behind him, something flickered, a faint, indistinct movement near the ground. Too vague to identify, but enough to send chills down their spines. This wasn't a stray animal. Something else was there. The family replayed the clip again, this time slowing it down frame by frame. Max stood stiffly in the corner, barking, like his life depended on it. Then, in the shadows by the fence, something moved. At first, it looked like a shifting blur, almost human-shaped, crouching low to the ground. The mother gasped, clutching her husband's arm. "Did you see that?" she whispered. The figure lingered for only a moment before vanishing into the darkness, but Max continued barking long after it was gone, as though the presence was still there. They rewound again, eyes glued to the grainy footage. Just as the figure disappeared, the ground near the fence seemed to shift, like dirt being disturbed from underneath. A chill filled the room. Whatever this was, it wasn't just a passing animal. The children, wide-eyed, begged to know what was happening, but their parents quickly sent them upstairs. The father sat frozen, torn between disbelief and dread. Their loyal dog hadn't been acting out of paranoia. He'd been protecting them. What lay buried in their backyard? And why had it drawn Max's relentless attention? The answers would prove more unsettling than they could imagine. The next morning, armed with shovels and nerves of steel, the family stepped into the backyard. Max bounded ahead, heading straight for the spot he had guarded so fiercely. He began pawing the dirt again, whining urgently as if begging them to help uncover what he already knew. The father knelt down, pressing his hand to the soil. It felt loose, recently disturbed. He exchanged a wary glance with his wife before driving the shovel into the ground. The first scoop revealed nothing but damp earth. Still, Max barked louder, circling like a sentinel. As they dug deeper, something unusual emerged. A corner of rusted metal peeked through the dirt. The mother's breath caught. They cleared more soil, revealing what looked like an old, weathered box buried beneath the fence line. Its surface was corroded, almost fused with the earth, but clearly man-made. The father pulled it free, mud dripping from its sides. The box was locked, heavy, and carried an aura of secrets long forgotten. Max pressed his nose against it, whining softly. The family stood in silence, hearts pounding. Whatever was inside had waited years, perhaps decades, to be found. And now, the moment of truth had arrived. The family gathered around the box, their excitement quickly shifting to unease. It was old, locked tight, and far too heavy to be a simple container. "We shouldn't open this ourselves," the mother whispered, her voice trembling. The father nodded, realizing the truth. This could be evidence of something much bigger. Reluctantly, he dialed the local police. Within the hour, 2 patrol cars pulled up outside, lights flashing softly in the daylight. Officers stepped into the backyard, listening carefully as the family explained everything. Max's strange behavior, the late-night footage, and now, the buried box. The German Shepherd barked once more, sitting proudly beside his discovery, as if demanding the officers take it seriously. One officer crouched, brushing dirt from the lock before standing. "We'll need to dig deeper and secure this properly," he said. The backyard was no longer just theirs, it was now an active investigation. The officers worked carefully, prying at the corroded lock until it finally snapped with a sharp crack. Slowly, they lifted the lid. Inside, wrapped in layers of rotting cloth, were objects that made everyone fall silent: stacks of old photographs, rusted tools, and sealed envelopes marked with dates from decades ago. One officer pulled on gloves and carefully examined the contents. Some envelopes contained large sums of cash, long forgotten, while others held letters describing shady dealings and missing valuables. The photographs were even more chilling, blurry. Images of people no one recognized, taken in the very same backyard. The family stood frozen, unable to believe what had been lying just beneath their feet all this time. "This isn't just junk," one officer muttered grimly. "This is evidence." Max wagged his tail, eyes fixed proudly on the open box. His instincts had uncovered the truth. Within days, the story spread beyond the neighborhood. Local news crews arrived, eager to film the loyal German Shepherd, who had refused to give up. Headlines called Max a hero, crediting him with uncovering evidence that might solve long-forgotten crimes. Neighbors stopped by with treats and toys, children hugging him tightly as his tail wagged with pride. For the family, gratitude filled every glance they gave their 4-legged protector. Max wasn't just a pet anymore. He was the guardian, who had kept them safe, the reason secrets were unearthed, and the unexpected hero of an entire community.